skateboarding in a very short time.
Rollerbladers are the grunge aficionados of sports fashion.
I'm super curious. Is there like rollerblading tournaments? Winter Clash 2020 Pro Finals Aggressive Inline Skating Contest. What do? Just like skate with a frown?
Rollerblading was the fastest growing sport on planet Earth. Completely
rollerblading was pretty
all of the
cool.
other extreme sports of the time. At its peak, the sport had 29.1 million participants. Whereas around the same time, skateboarding had just 4.5 million.
No
and
way,
snowboarding
what?
3.8 million. Rollerblading was everywhere. Films, televisions, competitions, it was massive.
I find that
And
very
then
hard to
it
believe.
Completely, the competitions disappeared, all the sponsorships had dried up, and these wealthy, famous rollerbladers were forced to quit and go get a job at their local Tesco.
Rollerblading
Just
didn't die.
10 years, this thriving new sport.
That was sad to read.
And in today's video,
It is
we're going to
super dead.
explore how the hell this all happened.
Thanks, Risa Paulson.
Alright, so to set the scene, it's the 80s. The world as we know it is completely changing. Times Man of the Year was awarded to a computer.
I miss soaping,
culture-defining
yeah.
MTV has just been launched. And amongst the
Soaping was
big-haired
ahead
neon
of its time.
tracksuits and overly synthesized music, the new craze
Maybe
of
some
roller
cybernetic
skating
score.
had started to gain some popularity. Between the 70s and the 80s, there was the invention of the roller disco, where basically you'd strap on some roller skates and listen to some music and have a little boogie, which I know sounds
God, this
pretty
was
good. It's
fun.
good especially if you got a few pints in you. You're golden. However, the roller skate was about to change. After two brothers and hockey enthusiasts, Scott and Brendan Olsen, came along. They were at their local sports store one day and they found a model of a rollerblade. It was slightly different. Rollerblades usually having wheels sort of adjacent to each other. This skate was just a straight line of wheels, now known as an inline skate. And they very quickly realised that this was the perfect thing for when ice hockey is out of season, as the wheels were straight, much like an ice skate.
Everything's the same except for the ice surface.
Scott and Brenny went home and they descended into their
So they just
dark,
stole the
dingy
idea?
basement. And in a sort of Dexter's Laboratory fashion, they didn't emerge until they came out with the perfect inline skate. This new skate was equipped with polyurethane rollers, a rubber heel stop, and it was perfect for maneuvering fast and quickly on any terrain. And there was one more thing that they had emerged from their dark dungeon with. A very simple but memorable business name. Rollerblade.
Oh, they
In the
were
early days of
actually named
The
Rollerblade.
target was like skiers and ice skaters to kind of give them something to do when it was off season. And it was pretty popular. Sales
That's
were good for this
interesting.
very niche market. And in 1986, the inline industry was valued at $7 million. But then disaster struck for the Olsen brothers. One of their mates, who was supposed to be their accountant, had started to fiddle with the money a little bit and embezzled $100,000, meaning that the company was in hot water and the Olsen brothers faced bankruptcy. But then a man by the name of Robert Naegeli swooped in to save the day. And by that, I mean, he took them for an absolute
Good man.
ride. Originally, he offered them $1.5 million for just half the company. But then this guy absolutely shafted them. He got them down to $100,000 for
Use some ground zero.
95% of the company. And over the years, as the Olsen brothers became more and more desperate for cash, they ended up selling for a 1% royalty of the company that would last 10 years. These new owners brought with them a brand new marketing strategy, and that was to turn it into a cool, hip and trendy fad. And so they decided to target the cool, hip and trendy place of California, being the same region that saw the birth of surfboarding and skateboarding. If there was any place on earth that would pay stupid money
No.
for the latest trend, it was California. And the plan paid off. Rollerblading
So not much
swept
has changed.
California in the mid to late 80s. Rollerblading of the
I'm sorry to hear
80s
that,
was,
Cannibal. That's awful.
to put it bluntly, extremely lame.
Rollerblades are created, not the imitated with these, homeboy. You're gonna skate greater. If you see me out there, you better be aware, cause I just might be coming from out of the air.
It was tied in with the image of like wealthy Californian yuppies, wearing neon-coloured spandex that was so tightly fitted you'd look like a piece of meat wrapped in cling cruise around.
I'm already
But
seeing how
the
rollerblading.
company, they didn't mind because they were selling rollerblades. But Rollerblade did put together like an official team, a bunch of personalities and talented rollerbladers to help push and promote rollerblade. Rollerblading began to change. Instead of just cruising around and spinning in circles on flat grounds, rollerbladers started to incorporate ramps.
Wow, look at
jumps.
those tricks.
The rollerblade team would actually start to get better and do some kind of cool things. But then very quickly, the whole game would get completely flipped on its head.
That was cool.
That was due to the rise of a very similar
Skateboarding.
sport, skateboarding.
Yeah.
skateboarding rebelled against the happy-go-lucky, clean image of the 80s. And as we entered the early 90s, skateboarding
roller skating doesn't
blew
look
up,
very
become a
cool now
sensation.
that I see the old 80s
Million-dollar brands,
footage.
famous skaters, it was massive. This extreme sport that parents feared became the new rock and roll. All that hard work the skateboarders put in, the struggle to build the industry, being constantly told to get a job because skateboarding's for losers. And then rollerblading came along and said, cheers lads, we'll take it from here. The rollerblading community completely overtook skateboarding in a very short time.
Rollerbladers are the grunge aficionados of sports fashion.
I'm super curious. Is there like rollerblading tournaments? Winter Clash 2020 Pro Finals Aggressive Inline Skating Contest. What do you do? Just like skate with a frown? I know roller derby, that's not the same. He's getting mean! I mean, it doesn't look lame. I thought that was gonna look really, really lame.
The early 90s for rollerblading saw not
Needs to
only
be
the
some
sport
King
explode,
Sea-Dog.
but the skill level went nuts. Like in 10 years, people went from spinning around in circles wearing lycra shorts to launching themselves across like 20-foot gaps. In 1991, Chris Edward would become the first ever person to grind down a rail, which would completely open the floodgates to the skill of grinding. And again, much like skateboarding, there would be video parts that would come out. One of the early iconic ones was in 93 with Dare to Air, which in the beginning scene,
Cool
they
name.
acknowledged the lame image of
Like the prime
rollerblading
banana,
that
the
existed in the
Resub Nori.
80s.
It's for hardcore skaters, right? Like me. See, I'm the number. No, shut up.
And basically shunned it, saying that disco is out and that rollerblading was hardcore, bruh.
Whoa!
This video would showcase the lifestyle, attitudes and skill of these young lads who are quickly becoming stars in the world of rollerblading. In 1993, the magazine Daily Bread was launched, becoming the voice of this style of rollerblading,
Cool
which
name.
was now dubbed aggressive inline. And then
Oh,
it
Jesus
got
Christ.
even crazier.
That's such a dumb
Participation
name.
numbers for inline skating went from 23.9 million in 1995 up to 29.1 million rollerbladers worldwide in 1997, making it the fastest growing sport on planet Earth. And the market.
And I remember
showing the effect of this
rollerbladers
insane
and
rise in
skaters
rollerblading.
hated
From being
each
a
other.
$10 to $12 million
They
market in
hated each other.
1988, up to 60 million in 1990, and by 91 it was now a $200 million industry, and then it would peak in 1994 at $650 million,
Holy
with Rollerblade,
shit.
the company, taking up a good majority share of the market size, which
is because we wanted a name that sounded powerful, but also that was corrupt.
Senna brought with it a kind of
Alright.
bad boy image to rollerblading, and
Thanks,
very
Russo
quickly
Poopsock.
became the face of the sport. In 1994, they started putting out t-shirts, and they made about 1.7k. Jump forward to 1996, and they sold 750,000 t-shirts, which made them about $13.5
Oh my
million
God.
between 96 and 97. This was largely thanks to a massive marketing backlash.
Is causing all kinds of controversy tonight. They slipped in a slogan on their clothes that reads, "Destroy all girls."
So here's what all the excitement's about.
Center clothing designer Arlo Eisenberg shows us where to find the slogan, "Destroy all girls."
And like overnight, every single news outlet across America picked up the story.
What the fuck?
Rollerblading now became the devil. It was countercultural, it was edgy. Gone were the days of the spandex-clad roller disco image. Now it was hardcore. And by that, I mean your parents hated it, which obviously made it really cool and you wanted to do it. But it was 1994, which was largely considered the year that rollerblading blew up. With record sales, it started to attract the mainstream market. Nike had their own rollerblade company called Bauer, and ESPN created the
Oh, I remember
iconic
Bauer.
X Games.
Wait,
The X Games was
rollerblading
created in large part to capitalize
led to
on
the
success
creation of X
rollerblading and all
Games?
the other trendy extreme sports that were popular at the time.
holy fuck.
They were constantly showing rollerbladers, like their lives, all the stunts they do.
What's up, I'm John Green from Warwick, Rhode Island. And this is my scar story.
And on top of that,
Scarred,
X Games
that's what I was
became a
just
worldwide phenomenon,
talking
pushing
about.
extreme sports to the forefront of culture. There was the two Yasutaku brothers who would just do mind-blowing stuff on the vert ramp, like double flips, big spins, big air, you name it.
You know, coming into this event, everyone thought that Eito was pretty much a sure thing. 1080.
See, that's what I mean. That's right there. Like,
And the street skaters
the
have
hitting
gone
it back.
nuts.
The
Legends
backwards
such as
shit.
Eric Perkett.
Cool.
One of his most iconic moments was when he jumped down 2 sets of like 12 stairs. I mean, that boy must have traveled like 30+ foot. There was Brian Aragon and the iconic Chris Haffey.
I don't remember any of these names.
Like, looking back at this footage, I seriously can't get over the skill level of these guys in the 90s. Like, I was sort of unaware about some of the things that they were doing. Because there was so much money in it, it incentivized rollerbladers to just push and push the level so that they might stand out and get a sponsorship. Rollerbladers were happy, investors were happy, but there was one group who weren't so happy. And that was skateboarders. Like, no joke, throughout the 90s, skateboarders hated rollerbladers' guts. Like, I mean, there were physical fights between the two. There was no end of insults, and effectively, skateboarding went to war with rollerblading.
Hello, I'm Johnny in Knoxville, and this is Belt Sander Skates.
They would make these parody videos of rollerbladers. The skateboarding magazine Big Brother interviewed Arlo Eisenberg, basically just clowning on him the whole issue.
Scooter kids are the new rollerblade kids.
Parody video out. It definitely does sound very petty, especially now. There were a few gripes that skateboarders legitimately had against rollerbladers. Firstly, rollerbladers were kind of just seen as kids who'd get in the way at the skate park. They would take up space, they would put too much wax on the coping, and they were annoying. Secondly, they also called themselves skaters at that time. And lastly, and I think really what was the core of this beef, was that rollerblading never had to struggle for its success. These kids would just pop up and become rich, successful rollerbladers overnight, which was only really possible because of this like extreme sport industry that skateboarding helped develop, which took them like 20 years.
Well, it seems like rollerblading really developed it.
Rollerbladers. But it didn't matter, right? At the end of the day, rollerblading was still going strong, wasn't it? Well, toward the end of the 90s, rollerbladers were at their all-time best. The skill level was nuts, more and more films made references to rollerblading. There was a rollerblading video game.
Oh, this is the game I was thinking about.
Things started to take a turn. And for the first time ever, in 1997, the market started to falter. The secondary brands to rollerblade, which was K2 and First Team. K2 had experienced a 15% drop in sales, and First Team had experienced a 36% drop in sales. Nike fully jumped ship and sold their brand Bauer. People were trying to get out quick whilst the bubble looked like it was popping. In 2005, the X Games decided to pull any and all events featuring...
No! Wait, what?
This was the final straw for rollerblading. With no X Games to show off their sponsors, all the sponsors pulled out. More and more of the magazines and the brands folded. And basically, the arse end fell out of the sport. That was it. It was over. Pros were forced to quit and just find regular jobs. Kids were ditching the rollerblades for skateboards. The ride was up. And
what about soaping?
Fell off of the face of the earth. Now, you may be wondering, why did it... Well, there's a couple of theories, ranging from 9/11 to masculinity, which seems to be every modern journal.
Did 9/11 kill rollerblading? You know, when I really think about it, maybe 9/11 did kill rollerblading. Huh.
There was a whole documentary called Barely Dead, which I'd really recommend watching, which was made by rollerbladers talking about this subject. But the documentary kind of lost me when they started talking about this grand conspiracy, where all the skateboarding industries plotted to take down rollerblading.
Oh, there's a conspiracy?
Tony Hawk in a dimly lit poker table with a Cuban cigar, chuckling to himself how he's going to destroy rollerblading.
What if he did, though?
And like, yeah, whilst these theories are kind of wacky, they do pose some interesting ideas. There was this image put on rollerbladers to try and outcast them from like extreme sports.
One homophobic joke killed you. What's the hardest thing about rollerblading? Telling your parents that you're gay. That one little joke, the whole thing went away. I never understood it.
And this constant rallying against rollerblading would affect its image. It was seen as uncool, and it was cool to hate on it. But then some people present a more simple reason as to why it didn't last.
I can't imagine that's why.
It was a pain in the ass to wear the rollerblades. You know, like, say you wanted to buy a drink from a shop. You'd have to sit on the floor, unbuckle your rollerblades, pull your spare pair of shoes out your bag, put them on, tie the shoelaces, and by the time you're done, the shop's closed. And there probably is something to all of these theories as to why rollerblading... But to me, I think it's much simpler than all of that. And that is that it was a fad. And to be honest, the more I've been making these videos, looking into these different cultures, there's a very similar pattern that almost happens to all of them. When a sport's new, it has a great 10 years, does really well. Every company wants a piece of the pie, it gets more and more inflated, and then the times change, culture changes, the kids grow up, and brands like Senate just didn't appeal to people in like the early 2000s. They were on to the next thing. And the things that were cool in the 90s...
That's why you should only get hype about video games, because they're forever.
And you listen to the music from then, and the fashion.
They'll always be indie
It looks
gamers.
ridiculous now. And I think the reason it was so shocking was because it got so big. It came at the right time with the introduction of extreme sports. So when it crashed, it really crashed. And here we are now, 20 years on, 2021. And you know, that might not be necessarily a bad thing. Right now is actually an extremely interesting time for rollerblade. After the market was in downfall for the last 20 years, Rollerblade actually reported a 300% increase in sales. May of 2020 was the company's largest shipping of rollerblades in 20 years. And Google search trends mirror this growth. A lot of people speculate that this is in large part due to the lockdowns. If a kid wants to stand out and be different, rollerblading might be that. But making this video, the thing I was most happy to see, rollerbladers
Not
are
the
still
biggest
out there,
fan of
and they're still
90s
killing it.
fashion
You've
coming
got
back.
the
90s
OG
fashion
guys
is the
like
best. Don't you ever say that again. 90s fashion is incredible. Do you remember... Well, there was a guy... Oh, what the was his name? He was a pop star. He was like the epitome of 90s fashion. I always used to bring him up when people talked about it. No, point is, 90s fashion slaps.
Eugene Enin, who is particularly one of my favourites. He's got a very cool, unique style. From the UK, you've got Sam Crofts, who's out here like still sending big stuff.
This video didn't even talk about rocket power.
From the parkour world,
Good
Daniel
point.
Wheeler-Backer got involved with Rollerblade not that long ago, and he was sending some pretty meaty stuff. You've got brands out here still regularly putting out rollerblade videos that get decent views. And like I said in the Slackline video, I do think they need more YouTube-y kind of content. If you take Braille, every time Braille makes a rollerblading video, they just pop off. Those videos work because they show the people who do rollerblading. It's not just insane stunts edited to music, but you're there with them. So personally, I do think rollerblading is about to have a second surge. Probably won't hit the heights of the 90s, but that ain't what it's all about.
I also like
can't
Braille. I
lie,
think they're a
making
good
this video
channel.
has made me want to buy some rollerblades. So let's see where it goes from here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.
That was well made. Though, yeah, he did fail to mention rocket power. Half of rocket power took place on rollerblades. Oh, I want to see this scooter. So what's this scooter war? Scooter versus skateboarders? Oh my, what is going on with my typing? I remember I saw a video on Reddit not long ago where some scooter kids were mad at some skateboard kids. But I figured that was like a one-time thing. Let's see.
Man, listen. Okay, you can skate, that's fine. You
Okay,
do
they're
your
all
thing, man,
kids.
I'm gonna do my
They're-
thing. Do I have a problem with you skateboarding? Absolutely not. Should you have a problem with me scootering? Absolutely not. You don't want a problem. So?
Bro, they're like 6 years
Deal
old.
with it. Deal with it. Imagine if what if all these kids had skateboards? Yeah, but they'd all still be in the way, bro. They'd all still be in the way.
What the?
Scooters in the skate park. I don't know, dude. It's kind of weird.
Is it just
Scooters
subvinging?
and all that whole, it's just a fad, it's a trend that, you know, comes and goes, kind of like rollerblading did, so.
Scooters in the skate park, I think it's a great way to kind of learn, you know, for the kids. But I'd like to see them get off of them and get on the board.
I think they're really gay and they suck.
I think they should stay at home.
How old is this video?
The skate park is bogus, and everyone knows that.
Bogus?
I mean, they're like 6-year-old kids, so what can you do? I mean, I think it's just another form of having fun, and if I was a scooter dude, I'd probably want to ride a skate park as well.
Thanks to Gift Raptor.
No, I have no quarrels with the scooter guys.
I think they're really gay and they suck.
Tanner
If we go
Fox is a
skating,
YouTuber.
heard the girls like skating and stuff.
What are you doing? What are you actually?
It's just like a collage of YouTuber content.